The first light of dawn crept across the mountains of southern Spain, painting the sky with shades of gold and crimson. Far above the sleeping city stood a palace unlike any other, a palace so magnificent that travelers often stopped in silence the moment they saw it. Perched on a hill overlooking the ancient city, its towering walls seemed to touch the heavens themselves. For centuries, people had whispered stories about this mysterious palace. Some believed it was built by kings who possessed unimaginable wealth. Others claimed its walls hid forgotten secrets, treasures, and mysteries that had survived the passage of time. But everyone agreed on one thing. The palace seemed alive. As the morning sun illuminated its stone walls, intricate carvings appeared to dance across the surface. The fountain sparkled like liquid diamonds, and the gardens awakened with the songs of countless birds. Among the visitors arriving that morning was a young traveler named Daniel. Daniel had spent years reading about the legendary palace. He had seen photographs. He had watched documentaries. But nothing had prepared him for the breathtaking sight before him. The palace rose proudly above the city like a guardian watching over Spain. Its massive towers stood against the blue sky. Its elegant arches seemed crafted by artists rather than builders. And the distant mountains behind it created a scene so beautiful it almost felt unreal. As Daniel walked toward the entrance, he noticed something unusual. Most visitors were excitedly taking photographs. Yet many eventually lowered their cameras and simply stared. The palace had a strange effect on people. It demanded attention. It made visitors pause and wonder. Why does this place feel different? Daniel whispered. No one answered. But the palace seemed to hold the answer somewhere within its ancient walls. The enormous gates opened before him. Inside, Daniel entered a world unlike anything he had ever experienced. Beautiful courtyards stretched in every direction. Fountains flowed with perfect symmetry. Delicate patterns covered walls, ceilings, and columns. Every detail appeared intentional. Every stone seemed placed with extraordinary care. The deeper Daniel explored, the more fascinated he became. He noticed that many decorations contained hidden messages. Ancient inscriptions decorated walls and arches. Geometric patterns repeated endlessly, creating mesmerizing designs. Even the smallest corners displayed remarkable craftsmanship. It was as though the builders wanted every visitor to feel wonder. Hours passed. Yet Daniel felt as though he had only begun discovering the palace. As the afternoon sun cast long shadows across the courtyards, he found himself standing in a peaceful garden. Water flowed softly through narrow channels. Orange trees filled the air with a sweet fragrance. Birds sang from hidden branches. The city below looked tiny from this height. For a moment, everything felt perfectly still. Then Daniel noticed an elderly guide sitting nearby. The guide smiled knowingly. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he asked. Daniel nodded. "It's incredible." The guide looked toward the palace walls. "Most people see beauty," he said. "But few understand the mystery." Daniel immediately became curious. "Mystery?" The guide leaned forward. "This palace has survived wars, invasions, earthquakes, and centuries of change." Daniel listened carefully. "The rulers who built it are gone. The empire they created disappeared long ago. Yet somehow this palace remains." The guide pointed toward the intricate carvings. "Every wall tells a story. Every courtyard hides a lesson. Every fountain reflects a forgotten dream." Daniel looked around with new eyes. Suddenly, the palace felt larger than history itself. It wasn't merely a building. It was a time capsule. A surviving fragment of another world. As evening approached, golden sunlight bathed the palace in a magical glow. The walls seemed to shine. The fountains sparkled. The gardens became even more enchanting. Visitors slowly gathered at viewpoints overlooking the city. Everyone wanted to witness sunset from the palace. Daniel joined them. The view took his breath away. The city stretched endlessly below. Church towers rose among winding streets. Mountains framed the horizon. And the palace stood above everything, silent and majestic. As darkness slowly arrived, lights began appearing across the city. Thousands of tiny stars seemed to emerge below. The palace remained calm and watchful. Daniel realized why millions of people visited every year. This wasn't simply a historical monument. It was an experience. A feeling. A reminder that human imagination can create something timeless. As the first stars appeared overhead, Daniel looked back at the palace one final time. Its towers stood silhouetted against the night sky. Its mysteries remained hidden. Its stories remained unfinished. And somehow, he knew he had only discovered the beginning. Because tomorrow, he would uncover a secret that would completely change the way he saw the palace forever. Before we continue to Chapter 2, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week, we uncover extraordinary places, forgotten mysteries, and fascinating stories from around the world. If you love history, adventure, and hidden wonders, you're in the right place. The next morning, Daniel returned before sunrise. A cool breeze swept across the hilltop as he climbed toward the palace once again. The city below was still quiet. Only a few early visitors had arrived. The palace seemed different in the early morning light. More mysterious. More ancient. Almost as though it had awakened before everyone else. Daniel wandered through familiar courtyards until he encountered the elderly guide once again. The guide smiled. "I knew you'd return." Daniel laughed. "How could I not?" The guide stood and motioned for him to follow. "Today," he said, "I'll show you something most visitors never truly notice." They walked through narrow passageways and elegant halls. The palace was already beautiful. Yet the guide seemed interested in something deeper. Eventually, they arrived at a quiet courtyard. At first glance, it appeared ordinary. A fountain stood in the center. Columns surrounded the space. Sunlight reflected off the water. The guide pointed toward the architecture. "What do you see?" Daniel shrugged. "A beautiful courtyard." The guide smiled. "Look closer." Daniel studied the area carefully. Slowly, he noticed something surprising. Everything was perfectly balanced. Every arch matched another. Every column aligned precisely. Every reflection in the water created harmony. Nothing appeared random. Nothing felt accidental. The guide nodded. The builders believed beauty and knowledge belonged together. Daniel listened attentively. They designed this palace to inspire thought. Not just admiration. The guide explained that the architects combined mathematics, art, engineering, and philosophy. Every detail served a purpose. Every pattern conveyed meaning. Every space was carefully designed to create emotion. Daniel suddenly understood. The palace wasn't merely beautiful. It was intelligent. Its creators had embedded ideas into stone. Generations later, visitors continued discovering those ideas. The guide led him to another section. This time they stood before a wall covered with extraordinary carvings. Thousands of intricate details filled the surface. The craftsmanship seemed impossible. Daniel moved closer. The carvings appeared endless. The longer he looked, the more details emerged. "How did they create this?" he asked. The guide smiled. "Patience. Dedication. And a belief that excellence matters." Those words stayed with Daniel. A belief that excellence matters. Perhaps that was the palace's greatest secret. Not hidden treasure, not lost chambers. Not mysterious legends. The real secret was human potential. The palace proved what people could achieve when imagination met determination. As they continued walking, the guide shared stories about generations of craftsmen. Artists. Builders. Engineers. Garden designers. Poets. Visionaries. Thousands of individuals had contributed to the palace. Most of their names were forgotten. Yet their work survived. Centuries later, millions still admired their achievements. Daniel looked around thoughtfully. Every fountain represented effort. Every carving represented patience. Every wall represented countless hours of work. The palace itself was a monument to perseverance. By midday, visitors filled the grounds. People from every corner of the world explored the palace. Different languages echoed through the courtyards. Different cultures met beneath the same arches. The guide watched them carefully. That's another reason this place is special. Daniel nodded. It brings people together. Exactly. The guide smiled. Empires rise and fall. Borders change. But beauty speaks every language. As afternoon sunlight illuminated the palace once more, Daniel found himself standing at the highest viewpoint. The entire city stretched below. Mountains rose in the distance. The palace towers surrounded him. For the first time, he understood why the palace remained famous after so many centuries. Its true power wasn't hidden in treasure rooms. It wasn't buried beneath ancient stones. Its greatest secret was inspiration. Every visitor arrived with curiosity. Every visitor left with wonder. The palace reminded people that extraordinary things are possible. That creativity can survive generations. That beauty can outlive kingdoms. As sunset approached, golden light once again transformed the palace into something magical. The guide prepared to leave. Before departing, he offered one final piece of advice. Never stop exploring. Daniel smiled. I won't. The guide nodded. Good. Because the world's greatest treasures aren't always made of gold. Sometimes they're made of stories. As darkness settled over Spain, Daniel took one last look at the mysterious palace overlooking the city. The palace stood exactly as it had for centuries. Silent. Majestic. Enduring. A witness to history. A masterpiece of human imagination. And a reminder that some mysteries never truly need solving. Because their purpose is to inspire. And perhaps that is the greatest mystery of all. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with fellow history lovers. More incredible palace mysteries, lost civilizations, and hidden wonders are coming soon. Don't miss the next adventure.